Trang Quynh Trang Cures Illness by Vietnamese Folktales. Brought to you by TellStory.net. Stories from around the world. Lord Trin's beloved daughter had been burning with fever for 7 days, each night worse than the last. The finest physicians in the kingdom had paraded through the palace with their leather satchels and ancient remedies, but the measles would not break. Lord Trin, his eyes hollowed by sleepless nights and his robes disheveled with worry, finally sent for the one man whose reputation promised miracles where medicine had failed, Trang Quynh. Unlike the frantic doctors before him, Quynh moved with deliberate calm, examining the princess with sharp, observant eyes. He recognized the illness immediately, measles, which would run its natural course in a few more days. But as he studied the desperate father and remembered the preening incompetents who filled the court, Gwyn's mind began weaving a far more elaborate plan.
My lord, your daughter suffers from a spiritual affliction of the gravest kind. Only a ceremony of star worship can appease the celestial forces now arrayed against her. I will prepare a sacred prayer scroll, but the spiritual names are written in archaic script known only to true scholars. I'll need your most learned court officials to help read it.
Choose anyone you need. They are all scholars who will be honored to serve.
Lord Trin, grasping at hope, agreed instantly. But Gwyn knew better. Most of these officials had bought their positions through family connections and well-placed bribes, not scholarship. Behind their elaborate titles and confident facades lurked barely literate frauds. The thought of reading ancient texts aloud, in front of the desperate Lord Trin, terrified them to their cores. Gwyn spent the next day orchestrating an elaborate spectacle. Servants worked behind closed doors, joining sheet after sheet of paper into a scroll of staggering proportions, one that would stretch the entire length of the ceremonial hall when unfurled. Word spread like wildfire through the court. Whispers became gasps. The enormous prayer scroll would require public reading by someone. That evening, a procession began. One by one, the officials slipped through the shadows to Gwyn's quarters, each bearing gifts of escalating value. The Minister of Rights arrived first, clutching a jade ornament while complaining of sudden, debilitating eye strain. The court historian followed with bolts of fine silk, his voice mysteriously reduced to a hoarse whisper. Each man spun increasingly desperate tales: sudden illness, urgent family obligations, obscure religious prohibitions, anything to avoid the nightmare of public exposure. Gwyn accepted every gift with grave, sympathetic nods, his face a mask of understanding while his mind tallied the growing fortune. By ceremony time, his modest dwelling had transformed into a glittering treasury, and every single court official had conveniently disqualified himself from service. When the appointed hour arrived, Gwyn appeared in the ceremonial hall carrying his enormous scroll like a sacred relic. Torches flickered along the walls, casting dancing shadows. Servants struggled to unroll the massive document as Lord Trin and the assembled court watched with bated breath, their anxiety thick as incense smoke.
My lord, I regret to inform you that none of your officials possess the spiritual learning to safely recite this sacred text. The celestial names contained within are so powerful that incorrect pronunciation could invite catastrophe rather than healing. I must take this burden upon myself.
Lord Trin, moved by what he perceived as ultimate selflessness, clasped his hands in gratitude, tears glistening in his eyes. The ceremony that followed was theatrical perfection. Gwyn began in a resonant voice that echoed through the hushed hall.
In the heavens above dwell 10,000 stars.
He paused dramatically, letting the words hang in the air like a spell. The scroll continued unrolling, revealing nothing but blank paper stretching endlessly onward. Servants hauled the unwieldy document across the polished floor, around pillars, along walls. The spectacle was mesmerizing. The sheer size suggested cosmic forces of unfathomable magnitude at work. Finally, After what felt like an eternity of blank paper, the scroll's end revealed a few precious lines of text. Gwynn's voice rose to a powerful crescendo.
Should any spirit desire to partake of our offering, let them come forward to eat our rice. Having eaten, let them return to heaven. Grant that our princess may recover her strength of youth. We humbly beseech your aid.
The final words reverberated through the hall. The court held its collective breath. The next morning, right on schedule with the natural course of measles, the princess's fever broke like storm clouds parting. Color returned to her pale cheeks. Her eyes fluttered open. Within days, she had made a complete and miraculous recovery. Lord Trin, tears of joy streaming down his face, rewarded Gwyn with lavish gifts, gold, land grants, and official honors beyond measure. Throughout the kingdom, he proclaimed Gwyn a master of supernatural arts. The officials, meanwhile, slunk away to nurse their emptied treasuries and wounded pride, unable to meet each other's eyes. Gwyn returned home with deep satisfaction. He had orchestrated a perfect performance, timing a natural recovery with theatrical precision, earning magnificent official rewards, and collecting a fortune in bribes from fraudulent scholars whose own terror had exposed their incompetence. The corrupt officials had essentially paid him handsomely not to reveal what everyone would have discovered anyway, that beneath their pompous titles they were barely literate frauds.